Evan Neal did step on the gas pedal a little bit yesterday and made this thing a lot worse, as he did one of the things you can't do when you having a bad season. You're being criticized. You can't take on the fans because you're not going to win that battle. I understand that. And what he said was not the right thing to say. But I can't sit here in any good conscience and criticize this man and call him all sorts of names and stupid and screw you and you're a piece of garbage and all these things that I heard yesterday. Because guess what I do? The same stuff. I've been doing that for a long time. And I'm just now at 41 years old trying to figure it out. And when somebody comes after me and I get annoyed and I get sensitive about it, to not call them all sorts of names. And by the way, it's sort of similar because these are listeners to our program. They're people that make the show popular, and they're there and they support us even though they don't like everything that we say. But how many times has someone called up here, criticized me, and I've called them a bunch of names or made fun of them or belittled them, and then afterwards I feel like crap about it, or on Twitter I'll rip somebody and do the same thing. And talk show hosts, by the way, I'm not the only one, but I'll take responsibility for it. Talk show hosts do this all the time. So it's hilarious to me when all these sports talk radio hosts are killing Evan Neal for firing back at the fans for being booed. But they've done this their entire careers. How many talk show hosts have you heard? What's this guy on Twitter, living in his mom's basement? What does this guy do? You want to try to do what I do? Blah, blah, blah. You all say it. So stop. Look at yourselves in the mirror. Give him a break, for God's sakes. He's 22 years old. He said something stupid. This is a teaching moment, a learning moment, and let's move on. Good morning, Boomer. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, G. And I think that Evan Neal apologize appropriately. And, look, if you were the scoring, like I keep saying, if like you're Zach Wilson, you're Daniel Jones, you're now Evan Neal, and you're the scorn of the fans' ear, or ire, I should say, you basically what ends up happening is you end up having an emotional moment, especially when I think he's 20, I think he just turned 23 years old, and he went to Alabama where all they knew was, fans gushing over them.
They won a national championship
and loving them and appreciating them and all that other stuff. Now, all of a sudden, he has stepped into the proverbial hornet's nest here in New York, and he hasn't been here that long. He's only been here a year and 4 games. And the year that he was here, they actually went to the playoffs, so I'm sure he felt some of the love from the fans. This year, he has not played that well, so I'm sure also on social media, he's feeling the heat and the criticism from fans. And people tend to forget he's 23 years old. All right, so he's 6'7", 340. He's a kid. He's a freaking kid living in a social media sewer swamp of a world. And people are probably coming at him left and right. Look, we have criticized him. We have criticized Daniel Jones. We have criticized Rob Sala. We have criticized Brian Daboll. We criticize.
Sure.
Because we like to be the voice of the fans. And I also like to tell people what I think is happening.
Zach Wilson sucks.
Yeah, okay. So I feel bad for the kid. He's making a lot of money. He was a first-round draft choice. There's lots of expectations. But, he didn't get here until 2022. And they won. They actually went to the playoffs. And he felt what it felt like to be somewhat successful here. And you could say that maybe his rookie year was a little bit more successful and that there were fans and all of us were expecting so much more from him this year. But he hasn't been here since... if you were here in 2017, you were on this roster, you know what the fan base has dealt with.
Oh, yeah. I mean, he wasn't here for Pat Shurmur. He wasn't here for the second year of McAdoo. He wasn't here for the second year of Judge. He was Odell Beckham Jr. going on ESPN and killing Eli. He wasn't here for any of that.
Yeah, so that's my point. He doesn't know the recent history or hasn't felt the wrath of the Giant fan within the last 7 years. I mean, it's been intense. You know it. I know it. We've been sitting here. We've been listening to it. So when he is standing there and he's getting booed and yelled at and who knows what drunk fans are yelling at him, you can understand why he would just go off in a moment. I mean, calling him a human piece of garbage is absolutely ridiculous. He's a kid that's trying to find his way. He may not find his way. He may turn out to be a bust because that does happen in the NFL. And hopefully that's not the case. Hopefully the Giants figure it out and hopefully they can help him figure out his position or maybe move his position to guard and make it a little bit easier for him. But all I know is that to react the way that people reacted yesterday about a 23-year-old kid that said, called you bandwagoners.
Yeah.
And, boo louder when you're booing. I mean, look, There have been a million players that have been in this situation that have done the same thing. I mean, it's like a script that's being written. You know, you play poorly, you know, the coach is under fire, the quarterback's under fire, inevitably somebody's going to snap. So a wide receiver, you didn't throw me the ball, is going to snap. A defensive player is going to say, just boo me, you know, into a submission. I don't really care. You fans suck anyway. This is what happens when a team loses. And when they play the way that they're playing, all I could say is that Brian Daboll's got to grab a hold of this thing. This thing is going to go, if it isn't already, completely off the rails.
Yeah, and you mentioned the social media sewer pit, and you got to take it one step further because he was getting booed. That video of, you know, Brian Daboll and Evan Neal coming off the field and the screaming and the booing, like right in your face, which is a different thing. You know, when you see something on social media on your phone, of course, that affects you in one way. When someone is yelling in your face, an actual human being that you're looking at, screaming at you, you suck, F this, F that, you effing blow, all these things in your face when you're 22 years old after you got your ass kicked in an NFL football game, it's not an easy thing to deal with. And I'm not saying that what he said was great. You can't really insult the fans in that way. But, oh, by the way, like, how many times have we heard this exact thing? I mean, how many times the two go-to things is, you know, flipping burgers at McDonald's, or you're sitting in your mom's basement tweeting out stuff like, why do you care about the opinions of someone who's sitting in their underwear in the bed? We've heard that a million times.
You know what sucks? You know what sucks? This thing sucks, the phone.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Because we saw Rob Saleh and Zach Wilson endure the same thing as they were running off the field at MetLife Stadium with some guy that was, you know, videotaping himself screaming at them.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's embarrassing. It's ridiculous. It's probably either alcohol or drug-related intensity, on top of the fact that the fans love the team. They love being a part of something that gives them joy in their life, but also gives them pain in their life. And that's being a fan of a team and you're a hardcore fan. And I've often said, you know, I'm a hardcore fan of the New York Rangers. That's what I am. I wouldn't say I'm so hardcore when it comes to the Mets, although I am a Met fan, grew up with Tom Seaver. He was my idol and everything else. I've kind of, I don't know, become ambivalent about everything that they've tried to do over the last 10 years. But the Rangers, I'm still a hardcore fan of. So I understand the frustration of the fans. Believe me, I understand it. But you also have to understand that this is a 23-year-old kid who had nothing but success at Alabama, played at IMG Academy High School down in Florida, knew nothing but success there, and has been dominating everybody at every step of the way. And he had some moments last year that you thought, okay, this year he was going to be better, but he also got off to a horrendous start this year. And with the 11 sacks, or you want to say 10 sacks on Daniel Jones, you know, the offensive line is feeling it. Daniel Jones is feeling it. Brian Daboll's feeling it. Mike Kafka's feeling it. They're all feeling it right now. And this is like the evolution of a losing team, is that crap like this happens. But I just hope that Giant fans can just relax about this particular issue, because there's bigger problems than Evan Neal.
Yeah, I mean, it really is amazing that, like, this thing is the worst thing you can do. And by the way, I'm not saying that disrespecting the fans is a good thing, but my God, like, we don't need to hold it against him for the rest of his life. I mean, some of the stuff I'm hearing yesterday, I don't care if he apologizes, you know, boo him after the apology. I don't care if he turns into a good player, boo him after that. I mean, it's like the worst thing you could do in the NFL is play bad and then say something to the fans. Like, however, you've got guys all over the league who you somehow just forgive some of the really bad stuff that they did if they play well. You know, for example, Jalen Carter of the Philadelphia Eagles is involved in a drag race with a buddy who's got twice the legal limit alcohol in him, and people died in a car accident. But he's playing well for the Eagles. It's just like, oh, whatever, fine. He's not a human piece of garbage, but Evan Neal, who says that you're bandwagon Giant fans, are. Kareem Hunt was a video of him tossing a woman down on the ground in a hotel room, is like coming in to save the day for the Browns when Nick Chubb gets hurt. But hey, that's great. I'm really glad that Kareem Hunt gets another chance. But he's not a human piece of garbage. But Evan Neal, who's never done a thing off the field in his life and is a frustrated 22-year-old, now is a human piece of trash. Stop! I mean, seriously. It's just like, and I understand that we criticize guys, and I criticize guys for bad play. But when you are calling someone, like Zach Wilson's a fine guy, whatever, I'm not saying he's a jerk or anything like that. I just think that he stinks at football, and I'm tired of seeing him. But when you go in like this guy's personality, or I'm going to hate him for the rest of life, or I'm not going to give him the benefit of the doubt, or stuff like that, it's just silly to me. It's just so silly. And by the way, he might use this as a turning point in his life to become a better person. At 22, you made a mistake. You said something stupid. Now you're not going to do it again. It happens in everybody's life. Hey, I remember when I was too young and too dumb to do the right thing in that spot. I learned the hard way, and now I'm a better person for it. Can we give someone that opportunity to learn from these situations? He didn't find a fan and stab him to death. He called him a guy. He called these people bandwagon fans. He didn't punch a woman in the face. He didn't do any of that.
That's true.
He said you're flipping hamburgers and you're bandwagon fans, and we're attacking this guy as if he physically abused Giants fans. It's insane. It's insane.
The amazing part of this is that last year he felt the positive vibes from the fans. Everybody loved Brian Daboll. Everybody loved what they were doing. They outkicked their coverage, if you will, and they played well. And Daniel Jones got a new contract, and everybody expected better things this year. The problem with this entire team is that it looks listless. It looks like it's non-competitive. It looks like it can't get out of its own way. There are mistakes that are being made throughout the roster. There are rookies that are in positions that are very important positions in the NFL, and they're being exposed. You're asking a lot of young players to do a lot of things in the NFL that they're either incapable of or just don't understand yet. So I understand the frustration on the player side. They don't want to play like this. They don't want to look like this. They want to be better than this. But unfortunately, right now, they're mired in a collapsible mode. I mean, they got to figure out something to get this thing back on track because maybe it's this week. Maybe they're playing up against a Miami defense that's not that good, and that offense should be able to move the ball and score some legitimate points early on in this game, which is what they're going to have to do, or they're going to get run out of the freaking out of the Hard Rock Stadium. So I can only hope that this is the bottom of the barrel right now for the Giants, or do you think it's going to get worse?
I'll tell you, this is not a good back-to-back game situation for the Giants for it to get better. It's just not, especially with the Dolphins coming off a beatdown. I know the Giants are coming off a beatdown too, but the Dolphins have proved to be the best offensive team in the league for the majority of the season. So, I mean, and this defense can't tackle. You add the speed that they have. I mean, my Lord. I mean, from Achane to Waddle to Tyreek Hill, it could get, when you see some of these missed tackles that they had, I mean, 70 points they scored against Denver. I mean, they might put up 80 on that Giants defense if they played the way they played for a majority of the year. So,
but if the offense continues to play the way it's playing, then they don't have a chance. Like I was telling you yesterday, just if you go back and you watch through that NFL Plus app, go back and watch the Buffalo game and watch how Josh Allen played that game. Oof. He was competitive from the moment he stepped on the field. You know what I mean? Like There was no way that he was going to let his team lose that game. He was not going to give it away. He was going to play his ass off. He was going to stand in that pocket. He was going to take off and run when he needed to. And what I saw and what I've seen from Josh Allen after that first week against the Jets, you are now looking, for my money anyway, the most competitive quarterback in the league playing at the top of his game right at this moment.
Yeah, and I do think that when you have a player go off like Evan Neal did, I'm not blaming the leaders on the team for this, but it's something that you have to consider.
Well, where are the leaders?
Well, this is what I'm saying. This is what I'm saying.
Is it
exactly? They're devoid of those guys in that locker room. Now, I do think that Brian Daboll is the guy there, but you have to look at the teammates. Like, we've talked so much about the presence of Aaron Rodgers and what it does and this and that and different attitude, but who on that Giants team is the one that you fear if you screw up? Like, I'll even go as far as and I hate to compare the NFL to high school football, but honestly, There were still guys. But seriously, there's a history of a program there. There were captains on the varsity team that you knew if you screwed up, they would get into your ass as much as the coaches would. And you wanted to make sure you did right by that so you weren't the jerk. So, like, when a guy goes off like this, who is the person that checks that stuff in the locker room that makes you think twice about saying it?
I would think
not the quarterback.
No, I would think maybe if you really want to think about it, it should be Leonard Williams should walk over to him, and I'm sure he has, and said, don't just, because Leonard Williams was under the gun when he got here.
Oh, sure, yeah.
On the Jet side of things. And he got a lot of money, and he was a high-round draft pick. And, he's been a really good player. Has he been a Pro Bowl player, an all-pro player? Not really, but he's been a really good player, and he's got paid a lot of money. And I bet you Giant fans probably don't like the amount of money he's making. But for some reason, he's been able to keep himself out of the controversial mix like this. And he probably would be a good guy to go over to Evan Neal and say, look, man, this is what's going on around here. You got to just keep your head down. You got to go to work. Don't get mired into all of this other stuff. Don't worry about your social media. And quite frankly, I wish I could just say to them, turn their social media off. But I think like all of us, they're basically addicted to it.
Yeah, for sure. I know it's very hard to do that. But also, I'll say once again, this is also people are screaming in his face as he's coming off the field.
Yeah, I know. And
it's a different thing.
Some of the characterizations by some of our local radio talk show hosts, they can say whatever they want. I don't really care, but they may want to rethink some of the language. But I just say, let the kid be alone, let him play, and maybe this will ignite him to play better too. Who knows? By the way, you know what today is? Today's a big day. Today is a big day. Not for us specifically, although we can make it a big day for us.
10-5. I know next week.
I know 10-10 or something.
Yeah, we're going to announce something big, but
no, I'm not talking about us. I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you what today is.
Well, can you wait? Can we tell me at the other side of the break?
All right, I can do that.
All right. Hold on. We'll do that because I have time to guess.
It's like it's crawling all over me and I just want to tell you.
Is it the bed bugs that are infiltrating the city? Is that what it is?
Oh, no. They've been here for years and years.
Apparently
it's
getting worse.
I think they're prehistoric, actually.
Because
those things have been around forever.
Because apparently people in France who have been overrun with the bed bugs are now bringing it over here.
Ugh.
These French people are taking the bed bugs and it's all over New York City.
Well, they don't really. I mean,
we needed another problem here.
I know, but they don't. The women don't shave their armpits.
Yeah, it's a problem.
I mean, the guys don't shave downstairs. I mean,
and Sacre bleu.
Yeah, there you go. Sacre bleu. There you go.
Sacre bleu. Boomer and Gio on the fan.
Just,
and
they don't really. They don't quaff themselves.
No, pubic lice all over the place.
My God.
Master sommeliers.
Day Chasers taking me on the road again. It's